Hi there, Claude Larson coming to you from my studio again. I just wanted to talk to you about a recent series that is now complete. It's on my website. But while I was making it, this is the swatch page actually from the colors that I used. And I had shown in a previous video how I swatch things. I just get little pieces of collage weight paper and I swatch out my palette and I come up with, there were more than these, but these were the ones that I glued down into my swatching reference book. So I end up with these little papers, and I save them until the end. And then while I'm painting, a couple of things happen. I keep a wet palette, and at the end of a painting session, sometimes I have leftover paint. One of two things will happen. It will either go into the mud paint jar, which I will show you is every color that I've used. It's kind of, if you look at it, it's like kind of gross. Like, I don't know that I would paint anything with this, but I use this and I mix it with white so that I can get various shades of white that aren't titanium white. They aren't so stark, and they'll have so many different pigments that it makes a nice complex white. And it's kind of like when you go to the paint store or the hardware store, the box store, and they have all those paint swatches, and you look in the white section and there's like warmer ones, cooler ones, grayer ones, some that seem to have hints of purple, whatever all the shades are. But by adding a dot of mud paint to some white, it really makes it more complex. So that's one thing that I do when I'm done painting. If I'm a little brain fried and can't make any more decisions, I will take whatever's left on the wet palette and scrape it into the mud paint. The other thing that I do is I get just plain, again, this paper is cut up from 9x12 sheets. So I take like 9x12 sheets of paper and I will just paint the extra paint on them. Now this one, as you can see, has been well loved. I'm loving it to death at this point. But this becomes more complex paper because I paint layer over layer, right? You can see there's textures underneath. Maybe I, smeared it with a paper towel or a credit card, and then put other layers on top and on top. So maybe if I go through 4, 5, 6 different painting sessions, I end up with papers with several different layers of paint. Here I was just trying out one of the whites that I made. This is not pure white. One of the whites that I made to see if it would work. So I tried it on one of the collage papers. And so you end up with really interesting material for collage. I splatter it, okay. I used a toothbrush to splatter on something. So I just take whatever's left on the toothbrush, splatter it on some of my collage paper, and then I have these really sort of like interesting things. Or here's a gray that includes all of the colors in my palette, makes it a more complex gray. And then I just put another piece of paper on top and scraped it with the end of my paintbrush, so I get a nice sort of lifted paint, but in this sort of crazy scribble pattern without it being super bold, right? If you want a subtle effect. So now I have my collage papers, the papers from the swatches, and they all go together because they all pretty much have a mixture of all the paints in them. This blue, right, is going to go with this brown. It's this green, right? You're going to be able to put things together in various ratios, and then you end up with a really cohesive color palette for making collage. And from this, there's a bunch of pages here. Some have not been, oh well, okay, I cut a little tiny corner out of that one, but some are, pretty much untouched. They've still got some potential for something else. And some of them, you know, have been really hacked away at. And what I did was I made a bunch of collages with them, which are coming up. So take a look and see what's possible when you have a limited palette. You don't throw away your paint, you just kind of make it into these collage pages, and then you let your imagination play with what you've done. Okay, I hope you find this fun and useful, and until next time, thanks for watching.